The Spurs made a couple of roster moves. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs, right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for KENS 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. Hopefully, everybody's having a good week, and maybe if you're Team Tank, you're hoping the Spurs got another L last night versus the Cavs. Full disclosure, we recorded this before Cleveland's game versus San Antonio, so keep that in mind as we're moving forward. But hey, Locked On Spurs, your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. So let's go ahead and bring in our guest for today. This is my guy, my colleague over at 5 San Antonio, Vinny Vinzetta, who has not been waived by the Spurs yet, everybody. So congratulations, Vinny.
I'm on standby. You never know what's going to happen. It's early.
At the rate all NBA teams are letting players, anybody might get a call up. But what are we talking about today? We're going to be talking about the Spurs roster. We've been a couple since the trades of Pirtle and Josh Richardson. They let go of Stanley Johnson, and they brought in Devonte Graham. We'll talk about that in a minute. Also, when will the Spurs win? We're going to look ahead of the calendar and try to predict which will be the next W for the Spur, and then wrap it up with time. Right, obviously, we have some time with some Spurs news and notes. But Vinny, are you? Did you have any horse in the race for the Super Bowl? The Chiefs or the Eagles?
I did not. As usual, for like the 31st, 32nd straight year, my favorite team was not in the Super Bowl. So I had no rooting interest. I just kind of kicked back and enjoyed the game. I'm an NFC guy more than AFC, so I suppose I was leaning toward Philadelphia, but quite a second half there by Mr. Mahomes and that Chiefs offense. I didn't think it was maybe the most well-played game ever. That there was. It had its fair share of drama. I think the late penalty was a little bit of a buzzkill, but
right.
If you look over the course of the regular season, they do make that call. So I think by the letter of the law, it was the right call, but you could also argue that the refs hadn't been a story at all in the Super Bowl until they were at the very end. But they made the call, ticky-tack maybe, but they made the call, and that's the way it worked out for the Chiefs.
I was just hoping for an exciting game, and we got that. At least scoreboard-wise, it was exciting. The Chiefs, they come back from that 10-point deficit at half. It was just a fun game to watch, and I had the Eagles winning though, so my prediction is way off there. But it was close. It was close, like you said. It came down to that penalty, and maybe that would have forced overtime. But hey, everybody, you want to talk about silver and black, not about the NFL. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Vinny, are you a little surprised the Spurs waive Stanley Johnson?
It did catch me by surprise. I think the email popped up about 4 or 5 minutes after noontime on Sunday. Look, I mean, is he just maybe a guy in the league? Probably, but he's a hard worker. He's a team guy. He's cherishing every moment he has in the NBA. So yeah, I mean, the short answer is yes. It did surprise me that he was given the waive, but this is kind of the Spurs season that we're in the middle of. In the end, it probably shouldn't surprise us.
Yeah, I was a little surprised in the sense of the Spurs are seeing kind of veterans just go by the wayside. I'm sure they brought back Gorgie Dang, but Pirtle is obviously gone. Richardson's gone. Johnson's now gone. Stanley Johnson, that is, and a good locker room guy. The Spurs do let media in once in a while, a post game to the locker room, and I got a chance to go in and very connected with the guys, having fun with us, keeping the spirits high, considering the Spurs season is pretty horrific record wise. But I think again, just another signal, Vinny, that the team knows what this season is. It's all but over already, and it's just time to plan for the future.
I mean, the other day in postgame, I forget which game it was now, maybe after Detroit, Pop said, I just continue to commend their effort and their guts and their courage, and they're going after it. But then he said, we'll just keep grabbing those lessons learned and finish off this season and look forward to next season. And so, yeah, they know this thing is over. It's all about the draft now and looking forward to next year. But I'm with you. Stanley was team. So caught me by surprise, but then not surprised.
Yeah, he was knocking down threes. He was averaging a high percentage from the three line. Considering that's been Pop's biggest beef with the NBA in general. He's been joking like he's waiting for the 5-point line to come out. But in the losses too, he's been saying, Vinny, that we beat all these teams in every category except for the three line, and that's what does the team in. So Stanley Johnson, a guy who was shooting pretty well from the three line, is gone. I guess that was a little bit of a surprise for me if they are trying to compete, as they say. But I think at this point, everybody knows what the assignment is let's look forward to the draft lottery, the draft, and pushing forward. But also, I'm going to miss Stanley Johnson because I did talk to him a couple times, and one time I did an interview with him about Malachi Branham. Stanley had taken Malachi under his wing. But I also told him that if I was ever an NBA player, I would wear a T-shirt under my jersey. Are you a T-shirt under the jersey kind of guy, Vinny?
I don't think that I am, but I respect those that keep the look going. So good on him for doing that.
Right. Well, good luck to Stanley. I think the reports are that he might return to the Lakers. I think he had a cup of tea with them early in his career. So I think he's going to go back to the LAL. But yeah, good luck to Stanley. It was nice to know. Hoping you didn't buy a Stanley Johnson jersey, Vinny.
I did not, but
okay.
It could have some value for those that did.
Yeah. Also, as far as roster moves news is Devonte Graham. He is now in San Antonio, and talk about a debut for Mr. Graham there. What is that? 31 points versus Detroit. Now, granted, it was Detroit. Okay, fine, but all things considered, not a bad debut.
I think it was the greatest debut for a new Spur in franchise history. He didn't see a shot that he didn't like against the Pistons that night, and I think maybe Jeff, he might have looked around and with the other four that were out there with him, and he thought, well, who's going to take all these shots? I guess it's me. But he's a guy that created offense and ran the point and took big shots, hit big shots. I know that PJ Carlesimo was critical of a few of his decisions to take deep threes in critical moments toward the end of each half in that ball game. But he came out ready to play. That was awesome.
Vinny, I gotta be honest with you. I was like, Devonte, do you know what the assignment is this season? Don't win games, especially against Detroit. The heading into that game, the Spurs and the Pistons were tied for the second worst record, and then here comes Devonte, 31 points. I'm like, whoa. Graham, you're a good player. Just back up a bit. But the Spurs did lose in double OT. It was a great game. Now it was a fun game to watch.
It was very entertaining. For sure. I mean, I kept watching the game thinking both of these teams know what their assignment is this year. But I guess in the toilet bowl tonight here in the Motor City, they're just going to have fun and see who can get it done.
Well, this begs the question because Devonte fits the timeline the Spurs are looking at, whether that be keeping him on board throughout the rebuild into next season or using him as a trade chip next year. I like this kid. If offense is what's on the table for the NBA, and we're seeing just ridiculous scores left and right almost nightly in the league so far, I could definitely see him fitting in, perhaps going into next season as well. Vinny, what are your thoughts?
I can see him as well, Jeff, fitting in as maybe a second unit piece. I mean, look, what happened in New Orleans, what happened with the Pelicans is he just kind of got lost in the mix. I mean, he's a good player. I mean, he can play and he can shoot. And he's got some quickness to work with. So I think what you said, I would agree with, that he's an asset in either way, either as a building block or a second unit guy, or a piece to move elsewhere to get another piece as we move into the offseason and toward the draft for the Spurs. Yeah,
and look, he has value. Yeah, I mean, he has, well, for the Spurs purposes, he is a veteran of the league. Also, 3-point shot, 6 for 16 versus Detroit, 3 for 7 versus Atlanta in a loss. We're talking about the shooting. He provides that. The scoring, the Spurs definitely can use that. But it would be intriguing to see how he fits in this season once everybody's back healthy. All signs are pointing to Devin Vassell coming back after the All-Star break. KJ says he's 100%. Sohan says he's 100%. it could be an interesting mix how he fits in and helps provide a scoring punch. The problem is, Vinny, you can't get the W's. No more W's because the Spurs, I think as of this recording, I believe, somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, whether you or a listener, I think that the Spurs now own the worst record in the league. Is that still true?
I think they're a half game. I think they're a half game up on Houston still.
Wow. Wait, no. San Antonio's up a half, or Houston's up a half.
I think the Spurs are up by a half game on Houston.
Wow. Make it stay that way, San Antonio. Make it stay that way. We'll give you a little wiggle room to the number 2, the second worst team, but I like this guy. Know who he reminds me of? Let me see if your NBA knowledge is there. Ricky Davis. Remember him?
Barely.
Oh, yeah. Ricky Davis used to play for the Cavs, and this guy was a gunner. He was a gunner. Just didn't meet a shot he didn't like, and he just took it. And that's what I thought of when I saw Devonte Graham play for the first time. Yeah, I don't really get to see him a lot in his New Orleans days, you mentioned, because he was buried on the bench. He spent some time in the G League, but nevertheless, hey, he's still young. He fits the Spurs timeline, and yeah, I think he could stick on. And knowing the Spurs doing Brian Wright, what they're doing, Vinny, wouldn't be surprised if they do flip him either in the offseason this year or maybe next season. But when we get back, we're going to continue our chat about your silver and black and ask a big question. When are they going to win? Sure, the L's are good if your team tanked, but hey, we got to appease the other side. Vinny, there are some fans that want to see the Spurs win, so we're going to try to predict when the Spurs will get that next win right here on Locked On Spurs with my colleague over at Kens5. He is Vinny Vinzetta. Follow him on Twitter at VVinzetta. That's VVINZETTA. Spell it out, everybody, because it's Vinny with an IE, not a Y, and that's what throws everybody off. So make sure to follow him on Twitter right now. But hey, I want to talk to you about FanDuel. If you got to get FanDuel right now. The midway point of the NBA season is here. Now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to points scored to threes drained. Hey, you can build your own favorite bets for the NBA for the entire week. They got exclusive bets. Go check it out over at FanDuel. And they got even like a bet like this, like 2x3, basically 2 3-pointers scored in the first 3 minutes. Yeah, you can make bets like that. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. So don't miss out your chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with my colleague at Kens5 San Antonio. He is Vinny Vinzetta. Follow him on Twitter at VVinzetta right now. So, Vinny, let's put your thinking cap here on. Let's just get the crystal ball going here. And look, we get it. It's not been a fun season, especially when it comes to winning. Spurs, as of this recording, 14 wins. That's it. Now, they're on the rodeo road trip. They're winless right now on the rodeo road trip. Go ahead, again, as of this recording. So, again, hopefully, with Spurs, at least we're competitive versus the Cavs today. But we're not going to include the Cavs game. So, Vinny, I'm going to give you the next few games. We'll wrap up the rodeo road trip. Tell me where you see a W for the Spurs. So, after the Cavs, it's Spurs at Hornets. Win or loss?
I look at that one and I stare at that one, but I'm still going to go loss at Charlotte.
Wow. What you yeah. You look at that the Hornets game, LaMelo Ball. If he's playing, I think the Hornets are out of the top worst team, so they're trying.
But their attitude is kind of team tank as well. But I'm still gonna pick the Hornets, although I'm staring at the game hard. But I guess I'm gonna go ahead and still pick Charlotte.
Okay. After the Hornets, it's Spurs at Dallas. Oh my God. Do we even have to ask that one? Kyrie.
Yeah, give us the Mavericks.
Spurs at Jazz in the first game in Utah.
Okay, you found my home. I'm gonna take a leap of faith here, Jeff, and say this is when it ends. Saturday, February 25, the first of the back-to-back in
Yeah.
Salt Lake. They beat the Jazz on Saturday night, February 25th.
Interesting. See, I'm, we'll wrap it up, and then they'll play the Jazz again, everybody, on February 28th for a pair of games in Utah, and that's how the road trip will end. But I'm still leaning towards that Hornets game. I think that will be the loss. That's tomorrow night in Charlotte. I'm sorry, or the win, excuse me, for San Antonio. But in a way, if we go with your route, then they break the record in a bad way. I think the longest losing streak in Spurs history is 13. So at this point, Vinny has them on a, say what, 12, we'll include the Cavs, 13, 14, 15 game losing streak. And I will have them just avoiding that record, getting an 8W versus the Hornets. But you look at this this rodeo road trip and the supposed bonding time, Vinny, where everything comes together. I don't think that's any more. I think that's gone now because you're still seeing through at least the first half of the rodeo road trip, they're giving up 125 plus points per game. They're just getting wrecked. And I tell people, I don't care what the Spurs do in that first half. They could be up 20. Let me see how they do in the second half because that's been the tail of the tape so far this season for this team, Vinny.
We've had this conversation several times already, Jeff. It is absolutely, it's crazy. It is rinse and repeat. I mean, it's like a Hollywood script. You can hand over the same one every time, and they're going to follow it to a T. It pans out that way every single time. It would be nice to break that trend, and hopefully, I hope you're right. I hope it's Wednesday at Charlotte. But yeah, it's almost a guarantee of how it's going to play out in the fourth quarter. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, it's just been that way for most of the entire season. They'll be competitive with teams. Fine, you give them a little bit of the third, and we've seen them leak that into coming out of the half. But it's just like everything falls apart. Turnovers at the wrong time, the defensive lapses. Credit the Spurs. They have high spirits. I've been into, like I mentioned before, I've been to that Spurs locker room post game, and it looks like every time the losses mounted up, they're fine. You have Keldon Johnson putting his Bose speaker on super loud and laughing with the guys. When Stanley Johnson was with the Spurs, he was kidding around with Zach Collins. So they try to keep the spirits high. And I guess they have no choice, Vinny. I mean, it's other than that or put your heads between your legs. But I think the team collectively, Vinny, knows it is what it is already at this point of the season.
I mean, before he was traded, Jay Rich talked about how we got great guys on this team, and nobody is fracturing, nobody is splintering. Everybody kind of gets what is happening here, and then they ran a soundbite in broadcast during a home game within the last couple of weeks, and it was Dougie McDermott saying, we're not happy when we lose, nobody likes it, but we also understand what's happening here and that there's a bigger picture. So without jumping out there and officially saying it ever, everybody is kind of understanding what's going on here. And might I point out that on March 4th and 5th, I'd say there's a chance for a win streak, Jeff. That's the Rockets back-to-back, who are probably trying even harder than the Spurs to embrace Team Tank.
that might be the game in that Will Ferrell movie where they had the Spurs as the villains back in the day. I forgot, was it the Flint Tropics game where they were playing the game to lose on purpose, and Will Ferrell kept passing the ball out to the other player, and they passed it back to him. They passed it like multiple turnovers left and right. I mean, that's what it was in that movie. I expect the same thing to happen in that Rockets back-to-back game. Yeah, because in the eye of the prize, I mean, have you been seeing this kid, Wembanyama? I mean, what he can do? It's ridiculous, Vinny. I mean, that's franchise altering. He's taking for a 7, what is he, 7, let's say a 7-2, 7-3, something like that. He's taking mid-court shots and making them.
He's a generational talent. He's a LeBron-type talent that will forever change your franchise, you hope. So no question about it. No question.
No, yeah. And for the NBA to be broadcasting his games every time he steps on that court, that should tell you something. You can't miss it. They will put it on their League Pass promotion. When if you have League Pass and you want to watch a game, it's everywhere. You can't miss it. He drops just one block and it's spread all over the world on the NBA or ESPN. I mean, that's how good he is. And again, he's everything the modern big man can be. Well, we'll see if that body that's what worries about him, Vinny, is his physical frame. I know he's just a kid. He's going to fill out, but does that worry you a little bit? Just, perhaps he could be prone to injury considering his size.
So funny that you should bring that up. I've thought about that countless times. Just to his body size and what he can do and what he tries to do. Yeah, I've had the same thought for sure, Jeff. Well, I wonder how susceptible he could be to an injury here and there. And, I thought, there have been guys that have had all the hype in the world and then never met it because they ran into the injury bug. So let's knock on wood and hope that's not his case. But I have thought about that. That's a great point by you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure Vinny Vinzetta is not going to be mad if Scoot Henderson's wearing silver and black as well, right?
That's a win as well. That's qualified as cheers for the Spurs. Yep.
Yeah. So there you go, Spurs. See, eye the prize. And remember, Spurs fans, if you're bummed out about the season and 14 losses, look, the real season for the Spurs begins the moment this season's over. Then we'll see what they're going to be doing. That's when you should be excited. Okay, what's it going to look like? Because, Vinny, this team is probably going to look radically different next season. What do you think?
I think there's no question about that. Yeah, for sure. I mean, nobody is safe. I mean, there's going to be changes. Maybe that's why Devonte Smith shot the way he shot and scored 31 in his debut. Everybody's playing for a home and a roster spot and a future contract. Yeah, that's a great point by you.
All right. Well, when we get back, we're going to wrap up this episode of Locked On Spurs with some Spurs news and notes, catch up with some things that you may have missed regarding your favorite NBA team. Once again, we're here with Vinny Vinzetta. He is my colleague over at Ken's 5 on the TV side. He holds it down on the sports side. So make sure to check him out by the way, when do you get on camera? What are your days?
I'm kind of like a utility infielder. I'm all over the place.
Okay.
I had a busy week last week, having some fun with some Super Bowl local angles, and got a big story coming up Thursday night on the new XFL season that starts with the San Antonio Brahmas here at the Alamo Dome. So, I'm always busy working away, and I'll usually post on Twitter when I've got something coming up. And so, you just got to keep an eye out.
There you go. And again, he mentioned his Twitter. It is Vinzetta, VVINZETTA. Make sure to follow him right now. Hey, but I want to talk to you about LinkedIn Talent Solutions. As small business owners or hiring manager, you know that success in 2023 all depends on the team members you surround yourself with. That's why you got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. With LinkedIn Jobs, you can hire qualified candidates more efficiently by matching open roles with people who have the skills, values, experiences that help you achieve your goals. LinkedIn Jobs helps you quickly attract qualified candidates to your open jobs with targeting tools. They'll go beyond the resume data by using insights from your job post, company, and their 875 million member profiles to put your post in front of the most qualified candidates. Identify the most qualified candidates on LinkedIn Jobs and connect with them fast and for free. LinkedIn Jobs makes it easy to screen and rate applicants based on your job qualifications all on one platform. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number one in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Vinny Vinzetta, my colleague at Ken's 5. Follow him on Twitter at VVinZetta. So let's catch up, everybody, on some Spurs news and notes. And perhaps kind of an interesting one is that Spurs, Peter J. Holt, the owner, voiced his recommendation. He is backing 2 Texas legislative bills that would allow for mobile sports betting in Texas. Now, I believe, Vinny, sports betting in Texas is illegal currently, but but there's a push for that change. The NBA's all in on sports betting. Now, you just heard right now on this show, sports betting, FanDuel. It's a thing now. But Peter J. Holt is pushing for that. He and all the rest of the Texas-based pro sports are all on board in these bills. What do you think, Vinny? Good thing or bad thing for this to be introduced and come to sports fans in Texas?
Really good thing. I would be behind this, and I think even Governor Abbott has voiced his support in some small ways for this, and I think they'll continue to explore and look up to see what is possible. But I think it could be a win for the state. And when you look at the immense popularity of the NFL and then the NBA, there was a day where the NBA wasn't as daily in our lives as the NFL is, but now the NBA is 24/7. So I think that sports fans in the great state of Texas would be behind this all the way.
Yeah, I think so too. It's a good thing. It's kind of common now. It's not as taboo as maybe as it was back in the day. It gets fans more involved, as Holt said in a press release. And I split time between New York City and San Antonio, and in New York it's okay, and fans get into it. I mean, it's all about it. And I think it just adds another element to watching a game. But we'll see what happens. I think the earliest, Vinny, if it does pass and the voters approve it and all that good stuff, is early 2024. So perhaps next year. Maybe when the Spurs got Wembanyama in a uniform, that'd be fun to be betting on games. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that would
crossing fingers.
Yeah, that would create some enthusiasm, I'd say.
Absolutely. Hey, we didn't mean to forget this guy, but he is back. Spurs announced that they have re-signed center Gorgie Deng after a pair of 10-day contracts. He's now pretty much on the roster for the rest of the season. I think this is just a sign, Vinny, that the Spurs need some veteran presence on a very young team.
No, I was talking to the Ken 5 sports photographer about that, and he's been a Spurs fan for 25 years. We were like, we got to have somebody. Gok is gone. We got to have somebody in the middle. So, I mean, we love Zach Collins. I love the attitude that he plays with. But, yes, they have to have some semblance of somebody in the paint. So I'm glad that Gorgie's been re-signed and is here.
Yeah, and speaking of the middle, Bassie. All signs are pointing to he'll likely stop being stashed in Austin and come on board with San Antonio for the rest of the season as soon as possible. I like this kid. There's something about this kid that could fill that bouncy big need that the Spurs need sometimes, Vinny.
He sort of embraces, I think, kind of that Stanley Johnson type attitude of I've got to relish and embrace this opportunity. And when I'm in there, I'm going to play my backside off, and I don't care who I piss off in the process. I'm going to give it all I've got and go. And I love that about Bassie. 100%. Absolutely.
All right. And finally, it may not be Spurs-related news, but it is NBA-related news. Your thoughts on the Suns getting Kevin Durant? I mean, it's a lock for Phoenix, right? I mean, I can't see. I'm going to be shocked if they're not the last team standing this season.
I mean, think about that starting five. I mean, that is just, if they're healthy.
Jeez.
I mean, look, I mean, the Nets thing was a total fail. But I don't see this Phoenix situation now being anywhere remotely near the failure that the Nets were. I love KD and Book and CP3 and Ayton, and they did give up some pieces. I love Cam Johnson and Bridges. I think they're really, really good role players, but I think Phoenix's bench is still already deep. So yeah, I'm hard pressed to wonder how they're not going to be the last team standing. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I still think Denver's going to have something to say about this. What do you feel about Dallas now with Kyrie now in uniform pairing with Luka? Bump him up a bit.
I think we need more of a sample size, but so far, yet cautiously have to say so good. Luka missed, I think, a game or two while it was just Kyrie in there. But the first game they played together, Luka was all smiles. I mean, I'm cautious when a big situation like this happens. It can look good early, but playoff basketball is another animal entirely, as we all know. But I think Dallas potentially can make this work. But even so, I mean, everybody's looking up at Phoenix, I think, in the end. Absolutely,
yeah. Well, if you want to hear more about that discussion and more, check out last Friday's episode of Locked On Spurs, where we asked the big question, how long can the Spurs do this rebuild to keep up with the NBA Joneses? Once again, he is Vinny Vinzetta. Vinny, you teased us some stuff you got cooking. What else you got cooking on the Ken's 5 Desk TV side of things?
Yeah, I'm just excited to get on this XFL preview. I mean, San Antonio football fans have been here before. We've been teased many times with semi-professional football franchises, and they've all basically managed to fold and move on. But with with this new XFL for the third time, now backed by money from The Rock and Danny Garcia and this Redbird Capital Group. It seems like it's solid, and this league could stick and stay. I think we got to be very cautious because, again, San Antonio has been teased countless times and it hasn't worked out. So excited to finish that up, and kind of been working on a local high school basketball angle. The head coach of New Braunfels boys basketball, David Bronner, he wears the craziest suit combinations I've ever seen. I mean, it is, you never know what pants or what suit jacket or what tie he's going to have on. So having some fun with that, and they're going to be a playoff team this year in the state of Texas and could make a deep run. So working on that as well.
Perhaps he'll give Clyde Frazier some run, because Clyde Frazier definitely wears some of the wackiest suits. Have you seen those?
I haven't. Listen, Coach Bronner can give him a run for his money. So yeah, he is not afraid. He's not afraid.
Follow Vinny on Twitter at Vinzetta, VVINZETTA. Make sure you do that right now. Thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Once again, free and available wherever you get podcasts. And make sure your second listen is Game to Game NBA. Every moment, every top performance, every result. Locked On Game to Game covers every game from across the NBA with local analysis that only Locked On can deliver. Follow Game to Game on Locked On NBA, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, wherever you get podcasts. Just like Locked On Spurs, Odyssey app, YouTube, Ken's 5 Plus app, and wherever you get your podcast. By the way, speaking of the Ken's 5 Plus app, I just saw it's now, you can see that big Spurs 5 on 550 thing now on the website now. So you don't, for those of you who want to check that out. Yeah, by the way, good piece. I finally got to saw it in its entirety, Vinny.
Yeah, the guys did a great job with it. Had a lot of fun with it, and we had a short window to pull it all off. But from Nate Ryan's sit down with Keldon Johnson to Matty Houston spending some time with the Iceman, who got emotional talking about 50 years of the Spurs, to my visit with Devin Brown, which was awesome, and then giving my thoughts on kind of my 50 years of Spurs perspective from the jerseys and the rafters. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a cool experience for sure.
I love how you broke out the old hats, the old championship hats. That's awesome. That was
we had a director at Ken's that said, "How about I brought all my old championship hats and playoff hats. Throw these on." And so yeah, that was awesome. That was a cool moment too.
Yeah, check it out on the Ken's 5 Plus app. It is out right now. So for Vinny Vinzetta, I am Jeff Garcia. We're putting a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.